Welcome everyone to our workshop on how to work with dominant personalities, hosted by Ascend. Before we dive in, I want you to just take a second and share in the chat, why are you here today? Share your struggles with us. Maybe you have a situation at work with a dominant personality. Maybe it's your manager. Maybe it's cross-functional partner. Maybe it's your teammate. Something that's really stressing you out. Someone's not respecting your opinion. Someone not listening to you. Share with us in the chat. Why are you here today? What's the struggle that you're facing? Dealing with difficult leadership. Yep. Particularly tough week with the dominant personality. Difficult leadership in sponsors and programs, not being heard. I often get spoken over in meetings and it's infuriating. Most times I don't get taken seriously. Microaggressions, steamrolled, not feeling supported. More of an introvert, working on finding my voice. And you can see there's a lot of commonality here. Dealing with a challenging team. I feel like I'm being dominated by a lot of key people I work with. Manager, entering manager, design lead. The way I get asked, why are you actually good at marketing? Because I feel like I'm being, yes. Sometimes I feel like I'm not being taken seriously. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. As you can see, there's so much commonality here. This is going to be really, really just fun and valuable and vulnerable. So, as we go through this, if something resonates with you, drop it in the chat. If you've had a similar experience, share with us. You joined for a reason. I want this to be really valuable for you. And it can be so validating just hearing like, oh, wow, a bunch of other smart, really qualified people are facing the same exact challenges as I am. And what's amazing is we have people here from all over the world today, from California, New York, Illinois, London, Germany, India. So this is going to be a really, really fun session. Hi, everyone. I'm Shivani Berry. I am the CEO and founder of Ascend, where we offer an online leadership program for women. What inspired me to start Ascend was I used to be on your side of the table. As I was moving up into management, I learned how to rally stakeholders, advocate for myself, and empower my teams, all by making a ton of mistakes. Some guidance, but probably just a lot of blowups. One of my most painful career memories is working with a dominant personality. And that's why I was inspired to create this workshop. I was like, we have to talk about this. We have to figure out how to solve this for other people. So for me, it was my team and I were responsible for leading a core product initiative. I was presenting to the board on this initiative. It was a top company priority. Everything was going really well. And then as we were wrapping up the project, we had to transition part of the project over to the operations team. And so I was working really closely with the director of operations, David, to make that transition. The meetings were going really smoothly. He was praises for our work. When I walked him through why we did certain things, he's like, yeah, that makes sense. About a month later, I find out that in a leadership meeting with the CEO and other executives that I was not in, neither was my manager, the chief product officer. David questioned my team's work. David alluded that we made mistakes, we made wrong decisions. I was really frustrated because he's never said that to me. And the fact that he did it in a meeting where I wasn't even able to provide more context was really frustrating. Afterwards, I was worried, I didn't want my team's work to be questioned. And that was what was starting to happen. So I went and tried to talk to David about it, to understand what happened, to share more context and reiterate the rationale. But he dismissed me. He didn't listen to what I had to say. He didn't care. I felt really shut down. I was worried that my team wasn't able to make the impact that they should have, that they deserved. My reputation was getting hurt. People didn't see me as someone who could make good decisions. All because he was just shutting me down. This was a really frustrating moment in my career and something that really hurt me. In terms of not just personally, but also in terms of that career growth that I wanted to get. I really struggled to figure out what to do in that moment. I felt a lot of anxiety and stress and dread. I finally figured out a couple strategies that helped me win over David. So much so that he apologized and then proactively came to seek out my input, which is a dream, right? When I learned how to work and collaborate and win over dominant personalities, when I learned how to rally stakeholders, when I learned how to lead my teams, I felt so much more confident. I was able to move up faster in my career and impact not only my teams, but also our executives and our company's board of directors. These experiences combined with the time I spent studying at Harvard Business School to get my MBA inspired me to create Ascend. Our mission is to elevate 10,000 women into leadership. That's a big way we're going to create the change that we need to see in today's workplaces. But I realized that we can really learn how to lead and influence, how to work with these difficult stakeholders through trial and error. We all know that we should get people invested in our ideas, that we should speak up, that we should push back, but we often don't, either because we don't carve out the time, we don't know how to get started, or third, we're scared because when you practice these skills at work, it's high stakes. If you make a mistake, it can hurt your reputation or worse. That's why I created Ascend's leadership program, to create a safe space for women like you to push out of your comfort zone, to be able to develop these critical leadership habits and skills in a way that you actually apply them day to day. And to be able to do it while you get to learn with an awesome community of women. And we're doing it. For example, Diana, who's a marketing lead at SAP, joined the program right after maternity leave. And she used the program to drive better alignment in meetings, including with difficult stakeholders. Her performance improved so much that she quickly got promoted after the program, and she credited the program in helping her do so. I share her story with you today to highlight that when you know how to actually influence difficult stakeholders, when you actually know how to win them over, it is transformative, it is game-changing to your career. So today we're going to talk about specific strategies that you can use to help you win over dominant personalities. And first, we're going to talk about what does that actually mean? Who is a dominant personality? And then I'll share a little bit about the leadership program, and we'll dive into Q&A. And we're going to have a special guest, one of our Ascend alums, come and share the challenges she went through, because she used to be in the same exact shoes as you are in right now. Now, this is a juicy topic. So again, if something resonates with you, drop it in the chat. And as you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A icon that's in the bottom right of your Zoom screen. You can add and upvote questions, and we'll go through these questions at the end. All right, so let's get started. As we get started, I want you to drop in the chat, why do you think some people ascend in their careers, but others don't? Why do you think some people get promoted faster than others? Why do you think some people move up? Maybe it's right place, right time, luck, connections. Why do you think some people ascend, move up faster than others? Drop that in the chat. Likability factor. Yeah. Being more political as well as more skilled, relationships, being more vocal, privilege, connection, skill set, charisma, confidence, loudest voice in the room. Yeah. These are all really on point. And the number one factor that why people move faster, why the leaders that are at the top, is because they are really skilled at influencing. They know how to get people to follow their ideas. And if you think about it, it makes sense. As a manager, you're not actually doing the work. You're guiding your team to do the work. Similar to a conductor at a symphony. She's not actually doing the work. She guides the musicians to play beautiful music. So if you want to get to the top, if you want to achieve what the people that you admire have achieved, then you have to also be able to get people to follow along your ideas. And people at all levels, no matter how difficult they are, no matter how different they are from you, you have to get them to be able to follow you. And so the thing is, because so often, it's like, yeah, but I have a great idea. Why don't they follow? Especially with these difficult stakeholders. I know, like, when I've shared my ideas previously with them and they're like, nah, we're not going to do that. I'm like, oh, they're so frustrating. Why don't they just get it? But the thing is, great ideas aren't enough. You have to break it down. Why should that person care about it? Think about it this way. Your company has a marketing department, a sales department, to convince people why they should buy your product, even though you have a great product. Same way as Apple. Apple has amazing products. You're probably using one or more of Apple's products right now. Yet Apple spends over $2 billion on marketing every single year. If Apple has to market its products, then you have to market your ideas. This is not a, if I have a great idea, people will follow. This is not a, if I build it, they will come. This is not Field of Dreams. You have to show to people, especially the difficult stakeholder, why they should care about your idea, what's in it for them. Now, around this time, I've been here like, yeah, but it just feels like there's a secret language. It just feels like some people just know how to do it. They're born to do it. The good news is there is no secret language. Anyone can learn to influence, even introverts. And it doesn't have to feel political or icky. Even when you go win over this dominant personality, it's not like you have to stoop at their level. You can play the game on your own terms, but still succeed. And learning how to do this is, there is a strategic formula that you need to follow to win over these difficult stakeholders, to be able to influence. It's like learning how to bake a cake. When you first learned how to bake a cake, you had no idea what you were doing, but you got a recipe, you got ingredients, you followed it step by step by step. And your first couple cakes probably sucked, but then the more you practice, the better you got at it. It's the same way with influencing. When you follow the step-by-step formula on how to influence, when you practice it, when you do role plays, it will help you master it. It will help you have your ideas taken seriously. It will help you rally stakeholders and get them excited to hear what you have to say and implement your ideas. And I bring this up because I want to share with you a real life example of it. So this is Kendall. She is a marketing manager at Box. And she was a participant in a Sense Leadership program. Week 4 of the program, she got dropped into a last-minute meeting that her manager could no longer attend. So she was responsible for getting approval, additional budget sign-off from some key stakeholders, including a difficult stakeholder. So you just listen to what she had to say. Now, you all know what she's feeling right now. You've had this before. You've either been in a last-minute meeting, you've had to meet with senior stakeholders to get something important to sign off, or you've had to meet with a difficult stakeholder. So you know the dread, you can feel the anxiety she's feeling right now. She only has an hour to prepare. So what does she do? Well, she uses the program tools. She uses the worksheets that she got from the program to help her structure her idea in a way that would actually resonate with the stakeholders. She was able to think about, how do I correctly address the concerns that they'll have? What are the concerns they'll have? She was able to figure that out using the tools and using the role plays in the worksheet, in the program. When she got into the meeting, she was able to clearly articulate the position, clearly address everyone's concerns, and show why this is a win for them. So much so that everyone signed off on the additional budget by the end of the 30-minute meeting. She walked out of the meeting feeling like she'd never been as successful as she just had been, and feeling much more empowered. That is the secret for when you know how to influence. It is a huge confidence booster. When you know you have the skills to get people to be interested in your idea, no matter what situation it is, no matter if it's how senior they are, it can be with your report, your cross-functional partner, your teammate, your manager, or senior stakeholder. When you know that no matter if you get dropped into a last-minute meeting or you're presenting in a presentation, you have the skills that you will be able to show up. You will be able to present your idea in a compelling manner. That is a huge confidence booster. And the thing is, I'm talking about influencing because that's what helps you collaborate with your dominant personalities. You have to know how to influence in order to win them over, in order to make them convinced that you're going to help them out. So as we talk about dominant personalities, I want to, the reason why it's so important is because they're unavoidable to work with. We don't get to pick the people that we work with. In fact, dominant personalities often hold positions of power. And so you can't just hide from it. You have to learn how to master it in order for you to succeed in your career, in order for you to be successful in your projects, in order for you to get that promotion and the growth that you want and you deserve. Because if you don't know how to work with them, then it hurts your reputation. That example with David, when David was throwing me under the bus, when he wasn't listening to me, people were taking that as a signal around my quality of work. It stalls your career growth. When you're not given the opportunities to be able to showcase all the great ideas that you have, when you're not able to convince people and bring people on board with your ideas, people don't see you as a valued partner. You're not able to get that promotion to the next level because remember, the leaders at the top know how to influence. And if you're not able to do that, you're not going to get promoted into even a more senior individual contributor role. It's mentally draining. For me, in that situation with David, I remember it was so mentally exhausting and I was so frustrated by it. I remember going to a yoga class one morning and I just started crying in the yoga class because I was just so worn down from that situation. I was so stressed from that situation. I'm sure many of you have had that situation too. And it's stressful. It's like just takes up your whole headspace. It makes you question your worth. It's something that you get a lot of anxiety about when you're about to go meet with them or when they come up. So put in the chat, how do you feel when you work with dominant personality? Throw that in chat. How do you feel like when you work with dominant personality? Maybe you feel anxious, stressed, dreadful. Maybe you got a tightness in your chest. Maybe they make you question your competence. They make you feel small. You feel insecure. Throw that in chat. How do you feel when you have to work with a dominant personality? I dread speaking to them, usually negative interaction, undermined, stressed, incompetent, irritated, anxious, stressful. I get defensive, overpowered, challenged. Yes, thank you so much for sharing these. Insecure, defeated, uncomfortable, annoyed, like I'm wasting my time, unseen, imposter, defensiveness. I find myself withdrawing from them, helpless, irritated. I have to be so on to be able to handle them. It's like speaking to a wall. Yes. And really, you've touched upon so many points about why it's so hard to work with them. And when really it's around we feel all these things because they don't take our ideas seriously. They don't respect our expertise, even if we have years of experience, even if we worked on a similar project before. They don't value that, even if we're bringing them data. They don't listen to us. I've been in moments where I say something and no one acknowledges that person doesn't acknowledge it. And then someone, let's call them Steve later, says the same thing. And they're like, oh, great comment, Steve. And I was like, wait, I just said that 10 minutes ago. What the heck? It's so frustrating. And we don't get recognized for the value that we're bringing. And they don't value what we bring to the table. The great ideas that we have, the experience that we have, they're not recognizing it. They don't see us as a valued thought partner. They don't see us as an equal. So who is a dominant personality? Often when we interact with them, they're often really curt to us. They can be pretty aggressive in their interactions. Sometimes they can be narcissistic. They can be arrogant. And really, you can identify them, and they tend to fall into 3 different buckets. First is they prioritize results over relationships. They don't see the world the same way as you might. They're so focused on results, getting the results done. They're so focused on getting the goals done. They're willing to sacrifice relationship in order to hit their goals. The second bucket is they overvalue prestige. So they're focused on, what can you do for me? How can you help me climb up? How can I climb up the social ladder? How will you make me look good? And the third is lack of empathy. So they don't realize how they're making you feel. I have worked with dominant personalities, and to be honest, I've also been one. And in the moments when I realized I've been one, I've gotten feedback around it, I didn't realize I was making that person feel shut down. It wasn't my intention, but that's to make it okay. And so these are the 3 main buckets that your dominant personality will fall under. And the reason I bring this up, because you need to understand their motivations. You need to understand which bucket they fall into, because only then can you actually figure out how to actually win them over, how to actually gain their respect, and how to start working with them in a collaborative way. So put in the chat, which category does your dominant personality fall into? Is it 1, prioritize results over relationship? 2, overvalue prestige? Or 3, lack of empathy? Drop in the chat, which one does your fall into? All, 2, all, 1, 3, so lack of empathy, prioritize results of relationship, lack of empathy. 2 and 3, they fall into all 3. 1, 2, yep. So now that you know that, that's a starting point to figure out how to be able to collaborate with them. Now, and with all of these buckets, you still have to focus on what value do you bring? That's what you have to show to them. Because if it's not clear to them what value you're bringing, how you're going to help them, they're either going to ignore you or they're going to take advantage of you. And I know it doesn't seem fair. It's not, but that is the game, and you have to figure out how to play the game. And that's what today is for. We're going to show you some tools to help you play that game. Now, before we continue, I want to just call out that someone who's a dominant personality is not necessarily a bad person. They are multifaceted. They have strengths about them too. They could be really strategic. They could be good at driving results. They could show care to other people. Often they don't even attend their behavior. I know I definitely didn't. Again, that doesn't make it okay, but recognizing that they're not all bad people, they don't necessarily have bad intent, is really important. Now, that being said, it's important to differentiate between an asshole, excuse my language, and a dominant personality. Because how you interact with them and the goals that you want from them is very different. An asshole is someone who doesn't have good intent, who could be really biased, who wants to actually cause pain. They actually want you to feel stressed. And with an asshole, there's nothing that you can do or there's usually nothing you can do to win them over. So with an asshole, you have to learn how to just manage the situation and how to live with it. Maybe there's some modest changes you can make, but you shouldn't expect any dramatic changes. Now, luckily, there's very few assholes that we work with. Most of the time, we're working with a dominant personality. With dominant personalities, you actually have a chance to win them over. There's actually strategies that you can apply to work with them collaboratively to gain their respect. I've done it. Hundreds of ascenders have done it. It does work, I promise you. But it's really important for us to differentiate between the two and then you can know which path you're going down. So to give you a real life study, example of how to do it and actually feeling like there is hope, I want to invite up Althea. She is one of our Ascend alumni, and she used to be in your shoes, and she can share with you how she won over her really, really tough dominant personality, one of the toughest situations I have ever heard of. Althea, thanks so much for joining.
Hi, everyone. Shivani, thank you so much for having me. Yes, the reason I joined the Ascend program in November 2020 was because I was dealing with a dominant personality. And just like everyone who in a key stakeholder relationship, a key executive stakeholder relationship, and just like everyone who said in the chat that they've dealt with this, I had also dealt with it before, but I think this was really the first time that I was actually confronted in a relationship where I had to make this relationship with this person work, or else I wasn't going to succeed in my position at my career. And just like a lot of you mentioned, I felt a lot of the same way. I felt like attacked. Sometimes I would start crying on Zoom. I would get off Zoom and just scream out of frustration. Every morning I'd wake up and I'd have anxiety and I would feel defeated after talking to this person. Every one of these emotions that Shivani and also everyone in the chat mentioned, I was experiencing, and I didn't know what to do. So I ended up finding the Ascend program. Thankfully, I was really drawn that there were practical steps, to Shivani's point, that that there was a path forward, that there was something I could do because I felt so helpless. So the first thing that happened when I joined the Ascend program is I learned that I wasn't alone. Just like I relearned in the chat just now, I get goosebumps every time I see everyone, post I have the same thing, or I have so many. I learned that I wasn't the only person dealing with this, and that it wasn't a personal problem, that I wasn't, bad for not being able to. I just needed the tools to be able to build this relationship and overcome this challenge. So I noticed that this was typical behavior that I could understand. The first thing that really happened in the program is that Shivani said, you have to approach every situation from a lens of curiosity. What does this person want? What are their motivations? And the Ascend program got me to start thinking about this in a different way, starting to think about this as a challenge that I could achieve, that I could tackle, not just that I was worthless or helpless. And so, and specifically in the Ascend program, there are small group sessions called Circle, where I had a safe space with other people, with other women who were experiencing this, where I could talk through my situation. And over time, as I started to understand my situation better and feel safer talking about it, I eventually built up the confidence to give this this stakeholder feedback directly about how they were making me feel. And we had this really hilarious breakthrough moment when I said, I said, when you say things like this, and I gave him some examples, it makes me feel attacked. And his response was, I feel attacked by you. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, I feel attacked. And we actually were able to laugh about it and break the ice, find empathy for each other, and then start to reevaluate. Okay, we have different personalities. We do respect each other. We do both want to build this relationship and to communicate better. And then, over time, we were able to build up this relationship. And now he constantly backs me up in meetings. He is stubbornly loyal to my ideas, especially in front of others. He's become a powerful ally. And it really was transformative for me in my career, not just in this relationship, but like in giving me the confidence to be a leader and that my leadership style and ideas were valued. I ended up being promoted after Ascend. I've been helping my company raise money. I have the confidence to talk to other executives and investors and clients who might also share this personality type. And I think most importantly, and one of the reasons why I have come back to Ascend multiple times, this is my second time as an alumni mentor, is that this process is repeatable. And I know that I'm going to be able to use these same tools I learned, the same skill set, and build a relationship like that again with another dominant personality, another stakeholder who's difficult, just like this one, because as Shivani mentioned, they're everywhere and they are unavoidable, and it doesn't have to ruin your life or prevent your career growth.
Thanks so much for Althea sharing that. Watching her go through it, I remember when she joined, and I remember just the bad place that she was in, just feeling how low she was. And it's been honestly just beautiful just watching her grow. And I'm so excited she's coming back as an alumni mentor. It's an inspiration. And I think there's so much that you can learn from her experience, especially knowing like it is possible. You can make it happen. You just have to be really deliberate and thoughtful around how do you actually win over that stakeholder and actually develop the skills around it. So Althea, thank you so much for being so open and for sharing your story. It's a true inspiration. So thank you. And, as we go through today, she shared some things that work for her, and I want to share with you some more strategies around how to work with dominant personalities. So first, it's really important to win their respect. You can't do that, nothing else matters. And Althea touched upon that. And how you win their respect is, especially in new relationships, it's important to establish your credibility. Why should they listen to you? Why should you be the value partner? A great way to do that is leverage numbers and data. You're not sharing your ideas because you said so. You think they should follow your ideas because it's a good idea, because because the data backs it up. There's actually proof supporting it. It's not just about what you're saying. A powerful way to also win their respect is by leveraging allies. Social proof is powerful. Use your manager, your cross-functional partners, your teammates to help create that credibility for you. So for example, your manager saying, Michelle is a point person from our team on this. We should make sure that she's looped in for all these decisions. She's going to be the one who's making decisions on our behalf. Or Tina has had experience in dealing with trauma before. Let's make sure that we get her expertise on this, her thoughts on this, because it'll really help us move the project forward. That is very positive signal that will help you build that credibility. When you're going into a team meeting and with that dominant personality, you don't usually have a chance to, maybe you don't totally have a chance to share. Then in there, saying that, even calling out like in advance with the trusted colleague, like, hey, I have some ideas to share. If I don't get space to Chuck, do you mind just creating some space for me? And people are happy to help. And so, but they just don't think about it. So then, in that meeting, they could be like, you know what, Sarah, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I know you've done some work on this. And this way, when that dominant personality hears that, they're like, oh, wait, okay, first, they can't shut you down. It becomes so much harder because someone else has already created space for you. And two, they've given you, now there's social proof. And they're like, well, if this person thinks that Sarah has good ideas, wait, maybe I should reconsider this. The other thing I want to call out that it is important that you don't take it personally. Often when someone's shutting you down, it's not even about you. Maybe there's have something stressful going on at home. Maybe they're under pressure at work. Maybe they don't realize how they're making you feel. Now, none of this makes it okay, but recognizing that it's not about you can be empowering in itself. As part of that, I want to call out that it's important not to see every encounter as a showdown. You know, I think so often when we go into these conversations, and Althea touched upon this, is like, we see it as war. We see it as when we go into situations, we see it war, we see it as us against me. We see it as, you know, like someone has to win, when that's actually not the case. When you go in that mindset, you're actually not setting yourself up well. You're going to be in the defensive. No matter what they say, you're going to get triggered by it. The other thing that's really important is the conquer imposter syndrome. If you don't believe in yourself, then how can you expect someone else to believe in you? If you don't feel confident in sharing your ideas, then how can you expect someone else to follow your ideas? And with this, it's really important that, and here, we spend a lot of time in the leadership around this. Dominant personalities is a big topic in Ascend's leadership program, and conquering imposter syndrome is also a big topic around, because participants or incentives realize that if I am not able to show up fully myself, then I'm not going to be able to get those results I want. I'm not be able to get that career growth that I want. And the last thing I'll say here is, like, you have to be really skilled at influencing in order to win over a dominant personality. You have to be able to position your ideas in a way to be able to storytell, to get buy-in in a way that actually resonates with them. And that is an art form. Now, of course, anyone can learn it. And that's what I shared with you in the beginning. And that was something that has really helped Ascenders, is knowing exactly how to structure even their comments in a meeting in a way that actually makes it easier for people to follow, is actually persuasive. And they're able to do that in any setting, even with senior stakeholders. So you have to know how to influence and build a habit around that. So I want to share another story with you. This is Ellie. And when she joined the leadership program, she would tell you herself that she was at a really low point in her career. She had a manager who was a very toxic personality. And for her, what she found really valuable was the Ascend community, who had a big impact on her, because she realized that a lot of other smart, qualified women face the same challenges as her. And like that in itself was really empowering. And she was also able to bounce around ideas on like what worked for you, what didn't work for you. And that helped her ideate and figure out like how she needs to tackle this problem. She used the program strategies, including how to give feedback, how to, our message preparation worksheet, to understand how to reframe that relationship. And she realized that, you know what, actually the program tools helped her realize like she's actually not the problem. She's not crazy. She's not less than, as she would say. She doesn't need to go get more experience. She doesn't need to go back and get more education. The problem was not her. And once she realized that, and then she was able to actually figure out how to be more collaborative. She was able to use her new influencing skills to show in their interactions how to be more win-win, and show him how she would make him look good. It wasn't compromising her ethics. It wasn't compromising her way of working. She was just way more strategic about it. She was way more savvy about it. And that is what helped her win that person over. And it didn't feel icky or gross, because again, it was very authentic. To win this person over, again, you don't have to stoop to their level. You can play at your higher ground, but you can do it in a very strategic manner that you're able to influence and get them on your side, get them to see you as a valued partner. And at the end of the day, she was able to figure out a way to work with that person, to put that toxicity aside, and to be a valuable, and to be seen by him as a valuable team member, which is important because he was her manager. So today, what we've talked about is why working with dominant personalities is anxiety inducing. And I think you now see from the chat, like, you know, there is a lot of commonalities. A lot of you are going through the same thing. And it's a common problem that you have to know how to figure out. What's the difference between the dominant personality and an asshole? And specific strategies to win over that dominant personality. Now, in Ascend, we're all about action. So I want you to take a moment and drop in the chat, what's one area you can be stronger in to work with your dominant personality? Drop in the chat, what's one area? Maybe that's for you is recognizing that you need to know how to influence. Maybe for you, it's getting like not feeling like an imposter. Maybe for you, it's now identifying what bucket they fall into as a dominant personality. I'm gonna play some music. Drop in the chat. What's one thing you need to improve on to help you win over that dominant personality? Confidence, being assertive, getting to yes, recognizing early, not feeling so emotional, believing in myself and not feeling like an imposter, leveraging allies. not making it personal. These are really, really good. Thank you for sharing these. Reframe the communication so it feels to their goals. Getting more buy-in with my idea and growth. Understanding so the other person may feel the same way as you. Yes, these are really good. So drop in the chat. What is one area that you need to work on? What's a gap that you have in order to win over this dominant personality? Learn to keep an open mind. Yes. Yeah, these are really great. So now that you've identified this, in Ascend, we're all about action and accountability. So now that you've identified this, think about, what is that you're going to do actually to develop that habit? So if it's for you, I need to gain more confidence. I need to overcome imposter syndrome. Then what does that actually look like? How are you going to get yourself out of your own head to actually gain that confidence, to actually showcase your ideas? If you need to be more assertive, what does that actually mean for you? How are you going to do that? If you need to go get buy-in on your ideas, what is a step-by-step process that you are going to do to actually position your idea in a way that resonates with that difficult stakeholder? And once you've identified that, then we're also all about accountability. So I would highly recommend that you get a group of women together, ideally from different companies, so you get a diverse set of perspectives, and it becomes a much safer place to share. Talking about working with difficult stakeholders, especially dominant personalities, is a touchy topic. It's very sensitive, and you don't want things to get back to that stakeholder. You don't want to feel judged by your colleagues. That's something that's been super helpful for Ascenders. As Althea was saying, she was able to brainstorm with her circle group in a way that she wouldn't be able to do it in her colleagues. So if you want to go do this on your own, that's awesome. Go for it. If you're like, I don't really know where to get started, I'm busy, I want someone just to do it for me, then I'd love for you to come join us in Ascend's leadership program. We handpick every single member and we curate small groups that are high caliber, low ego women that you can get great feedback from. And in the program, it's a 6-week online program where you'll develop the skills to help you actually win over the dominant personality, to help you develop the skills to influence, to position your idea in a way that actually resonates with them, to have your ideas taken seriously, to be able to get them excited to implement your ideas, to hear what you have to say, to proactively seek out your input. Understanding how do you tactfully give difficult feedback in a way that they're actually receptive to. Overcoming imposter syndrome is a big topic for us. We cover basically all the topics that keep you up at night, but we never ever talk about. And really, today we've shared stories from women from all these companies and many more who've gone through the program, who've gotten promoted faster because of this, who've been able to win over these difficult stakeholders, who've gained the respect, who've been seen as valued partners, who've been able to advocate for themselves and be able to get buy-in on their ideas. And so really, this is for you. If you're someone that when you go into that meeting, especially with a difficult stakeholder, you want them to listen to your idea, that every time you speak, you want them to be like, yes, we should consider that. Yes, we should do that. It's like when you're driving down a road and you hit green light after green light after green light. It feels so good. If you want to feel like that when you go into that meeting, you want to stop feeling that dread, that anxiety, questioning your competence, instead feeling like you're owning it. And when you go, they're going to listen to you, and you know that. You want people to seek out your input. You want people to be excited to implement your ideas, even this dominant personality. Then I'd love for you to come join us. To be an expert at influencing, having your ideas taken seriously at all levels, even senior stakeholders. Being able to conquer imposter syndrome, stop holding yourself back and getting the confidence to own your contributions, to be able to showcase your achievements in a way that people really recognize it. And be able to speak up as an introvert. We have many introverts in the program, and being comfortable speaking up even when you don't have the full context, even when you don't have domain expertise, even when you're in large groups, being comfortable to express your ideas in a way that really lands with people. And you're ready to move faster. You're ready to crush in your current role and get promoted faster. What makes the program really unique is 3 key things. First is to learn by doing. Everything we will do in the program will have a clear step-by-step playbook of what to do, including how do you handle situations that don't go well, as they always happens. Ascenders often describe it, it's like someone is holding my hand as I'm having that conversation with my difficult manager. Others talk about it as like an emergency toolkit. No matter what situation I face at work, I know there's going to be an Ascend tool that will help me figure out how to tackle that situation. In fact, people find the tool so helpful that they share that it saves them actually time at work. They say that it saves them up to 6 to 8 hours per week at work because the tools just help them, one, figure out the solution faster and help them be much more thoughtful in their execution so they're much more successful from the beginning. The second thing is a community. You're going to be in a safe space with women like you, high caliber, low ego women who are driven to drive a change in their career, who are driven to make an impact at work. It has been really empowering for ascenders to recognize, oh, wow, I'm not alone. A bunch of other smart, qualified women face the same exact challenges as I do. And you learn faster with this group. Think about it this way. Remember when you're in school and the teacher's explaining a concept and you're like, yeah, I get it. But then someone else asks a question and you're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Now I understand the concept better. The same thing happens in the program all the time. You not only get support, personalized support on your challenges, but you also get to learn from other people's experiences. And that can help you accelerate. And so when the problem comes up in the future, you're like, oh, I already know how to deal with this. And you're going to be part of our Ascend community even after the program finishes. So you're going to get to meet our alumni and continue to have a space to come back, ask questions, network, build more relationships, make friends as you continue to grow in your career. And then the third thing is accountability. Let's be real. For most of us, the day-to-day gets in the way. And we have the best of intentions, but then you get busy. So we designed the program to help make sure you do achieve your goals through things like accountability partners, the exercises, around having a bonus accountability session after the program finishes. So now that you've had some time to practice your learning, let's come back together and reflect on how are you tracking against your goals? What new questions do you have? What are you getting stuck on? Because the learning will continue. And this is what's going to help you develop these habits. So if you enjoyed today's workshop and you really want to spend a few weeks really developing skills to help you win over these dominant stakeholders, to help you have your ideas taken seriously, to help you create compelling and persuasive arguments people listen to and see you as valued partners, and you actually want to develop like lasting skills around this while you get to work with an awesome community of women, then I'd love for you to come join us in the upcoming leadership program. It starts on February 28th. We have this amazing group joining us. We have women from Amazon, Google, Salesforce, DoorDash, just a bunch of high growth startups, women from all around the world. The energy is so good. If you thought the energy here was good, like it's 10x better in there in our sessions. We laugh, we cry, we open up, we share things we never have shared before. So if you're interested, we're going to drop the link in the chat. It takes less than 5 minutes to apply. The program is almost full, so I'd highly recommend just take a couple minutes to apply right now. Mention that you joined the leadership program, and mention that you joined the workshop today, so we'll expedite your application. The tuition is, there's 3 different tiers you can choose from. There's the most popular one is $3,500. And so that one is where you get the circles. That's what Althea was talking about. That was really helpful for her to brainstorm and have this like curated group of women that she met with on a weekly basis to bond with and like really get personalized support. You get access to the alumni community, you get role plays. So that's why it's the most popular, because people just like, it's where people really have transformative growth. You can also do the essential tier, which is $2,000. And that's where you get access, like the signature curriculum. We can just email us at hello@weascend.co if you want more information. There's also information on the website. We've dropped the link in the chat if you want to apply right now. I'd highly recommend it. And really, this is for you if you are ready to take the next step in your career. If you're ready to make a change, you actually want to win over this dominant personality and develop the skills to help you continue doing so in the future, to help you influence. You want to be at the table when key decisions are made instead of just hearing about it afterwards. You want to have a voice at the table, and you're ready to 10x your career. You're ready to invest in yourself. You're ready to get started and get that promotion that you know you want and you deserve. So I'd love to see you. Take a few minutes to apply. With that, let's dive into Q&A. So I see a lot of great questions coming into the Q&A icon. If you have more questions, just hit the Q&A icon that's in the bottom right of your Zoom screen, and we can dive into them. So I see a question around how to join the leadership program. And so I just dropped that in the chat. We just dropped the application link so you can apply there. It takes less than 5 minutes around it. I recently was appointed as a supervisor, but I have no experience in leading teams. I tried to look for leadership trainings, but I feel like I'm really lost. Do you have any tips for someone just starting this path? So we just shared there. I think there's some good books out there. That being said, a big reason why ascenders join the program is because they're like, I've done a lot of reading and I still don't know how to apply the situations to myself. And so if you really want like a practical step-by-step playbook on how to do it and how to tackle it on your own, that's something that is really focused on in the program. So can you give an example of how to be an influencer? Sure. So really, how to be what does an influencer at work mean? It's meaning that you are skilled enough to know about like how to get people on board with your ideas. And there is like a step-by-step formula to follow. So things you can think about, like you have to be really good at storytelling. How do you create a narrative that really resonates with your audience? You have to be have really strong presence. When you show up, when you're speaking, and people are like, yes, she knows what she's talking about. You have to be able to co-create. So getting people invested in your ideas, bring them along in your thought process are all really important. And so an influencer, someone who's really skilled at it, and the leaders at the top, the people who move up the fastest are the ones who are really good at influencing. They are able to basically come in, share an idea, and get people excited about it. And the idea doesn't ultimately have to be their own, but they're able to drive people forward to an agreement, to a path forward, and then actually execute on that path forward. And people feel like a stake in the game, that even when things go wrong, as they always often do, they don't throw that influencer under the bus. They won't throw you under the bus because they feel invested. They're like, we came up with this together. Those are the great, like, that's where you want to get to. You want to be skilled that you're able to position your idea in a way that shows people like, this is why you should care about it. You get them excited about it. And then you're able to get them on board and then execute on the idea in a way that people feel fully bought in and are going to be like, even when problems go wrong, they're in it to help you solve it. And it strengthens your reputation. I've seen this time and time and again. When you're able to do this, you are tapped for larger opportunities. You're given more growth opportunities. People want you on their projects. People want to hear what you have to say. And so that's why it's so important to be able to influence. So I'm at the point of getting defensive and spiteful. My own peer has dominant personalities and also doesn't collaborate well with me. Doesn't share updates and projects we're both working on, even though she expects me to keep her in the loop. She works in a silo, which only makes us as a team look bad because we don't communicate. When I try to talk with her directly about this, I get nowhere, and she ignores me when I ask to be included. When I talk to our manager about this, he's very non-confrontational, not sure if he addresses it with her. If he does, she clearly still does what she wants. She takes knowledge that I share and presents it to the stakeholders at her own. I'm at a loss and so frustrated. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry that's happening to you. That sounds so frustrating. So really, it sounds like, a couple of things are happening. One, you have this teammate who you're collaborating with, it's a dominant personality, and it sounds like it's a very like one-way relationship. So she expects you to share all this information, but doesn't do that in return. Two is she takes your ideas and shares it as her own. So in this situation, especially sounds like you've talked to your manager, he's not really being helpful around it. I would do a couple things. One, it's really, what I was sharing, it's really important to win the respect. So, and while you might feel like, wait, but I have done that, or maybe, I think the one thing I've noticed from people is like, we often assume that like that respect just exists naturally, but actually there's a foundation level of respect, but you actually have to like work towards it more. So showcasing to her, well, why does she benefit from having you as a collaborator, from having you as your teammate? And that's where influencing come in. So when you're able to like position your ideas to her in a way that gets her really excited about the idea, shows like, oh, it makes her realize like, I actually can't complete this project without you. Here, it's always thinking about like, why do they care? So make it a win-win. That is a really important thing to do. And so when she doesn't share updates, then help her understand like, how does this actually hurt the project success? It's not about you. It's not about how it makes you feel. How does it help the project success? How does it hurt her success? So for example, if she's not sharing updates, then maybe you're doing duplicated work. You're not able to move faster. Maybe you actually have some context you're able to share to help her do her work in a better way, to come up with a better idea. And then the part about her like taking your ideas and positioning them on her own, a couple of things. One is I would document as much as possible about your idea, so you have a clear paper trail. So when this happens, you can point back to it. Two, I would figure out like when she says she presents it to her stakeholders, in what way is she doing that? And so can you get in front of that? The third, the big thing is I would give her feedback on it. I think a lot of times these personalities like think they can just get away with it without, on their own. So it's important to actually go get that feedback. And then we go over specific steps to give feedback to people in a way that people are actually receptive to. And that has led to transformations like how Althea was sharing, where it really transformed her relationship. And so it is a stressful situation. It is super delicate. You have to handle it well, but doing role plays and having that step-by-step formula can be really helpful. So give her feedback around what she's doing. Taking your ideas is not okay. Why is it not okay? What needs to change? And calling her out in that way of like being really direct with her can be really helpful to signal to her like that's not okay. And then just being really proactive about, think about how she's sharing her ideas, how she's sharing the ideas with stakeholders, and like how can you get ahead of that is really important too. Thank you so much for your question. I hope things get better soon. As you have more questions, feel free to drop it in the chat and we can go through them. So I see another question. What's an example of an effective storytelling with a key stakeholder? So this is something that we spend like a ton of time on in the leadership program. And it's pretty complex, but it's really important to learn and something that anyone can learn it. And so around storytelling, you really first want to think about your audience. What does your audience care about? So for example, your manager is going to have different motivations and goals and context than a cross-functional partner. Or then like an executive, then your CEO. So you have to think about who is your audience? What do they care about? And only then, what are their concerns going to be? Because once you think about that, you are able to better position your idea in a way that makes them be bought in, makes them consider this a win-win. So that is something that's really important. So like storytelling means like, how do you create a narrative that really resonates with your audience? And there it's around, thinking about who is your audience, what do they care about, and what are their concerns around this. So thank you so much for these great questions. Thank you so much for the energy in the chat. I loved all the really honest shares. It's not easy. And I think it's so beautiful that we were able to come together and just share around this like shared experience that we have, albeit very hard and challenging and stressful at work. But I think it's great that you came, you shared, you were open about how these situations can make you feel really stressed, can make you really feel small and anxious and dreadful. And I hope you now have some strategies that you can use around this. And if you want to dive in further, come join us in the leadership program. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited to get started. And so the link to apply is in the chat. Feel free to email us with any questions. hello@weascend.co. Thank you so much. We will send out the recording. And I hope you all stay well, stay in touch, and thank you for joining and for your great energy. Bye, everyone. Take care.